Hi everybody, welcome to Masterclass Mondays by Theater Tuscaloosa. My name is Jake Boyd, and bear with me as I go through this masterclass. I usually bear much better with a prompter, with someone guiding me and moving me along when I go off on my tangent. So I've created myself a little template of questions to keep myself on track. But if I do veer off, please just roll with it. It'll be fun. So if you didn't catch it the first time, my name is Jake Boyd. I am from right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I went to Hillcrest High School. I went to the University of Alabama for college. So I basically spent 22 years in the same place. And then I moved to New York City to pursue theater and acting professionally. I grew up performing in Theater Tuscaloosa, also Tuscaloosa Children's Theater for any of you who have worked there or are familiar with that organization. Both are great organizations, but Theater Tuscaloosa was one of my very first outlets to get to do full-length, professionally licensed shows. I think my very first show at Theater Tusk was Peter Pan, circa 2004. Oh my gosh, circa 2004, somewhere, maybe even earlier than that. But also many others, Smoke on the Mountain, Music Man, A Dickens of a Carol, the original musical that was done at Theater Tuscaloosa. Yeah, great, wonderful organization. They've always put on top-notch shows and have always been very welcoming and just like really great shows. So obviously you're familiar with it. If you're watching it, Theater Tusk, you're great. So I've spent the last 10 years living in New York City, doing all types of various things, some TV gigs, mostly theater. But what I was working on recently for the past year or so before COVID-19 shut Broadway down was I was doing Wicked on Broadway, playing Fiyero for a little while. I had also been working on a new show called Becoming Nancy, directed by Jerry Mitchell. If you don't recognize his name, he is the creative mind and director behind shows like Kinky Boots, choreographed Hairspray, lots of really great things, tremendous director. But I was working on that show, Becoming Nancy. We tried it out at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta last fall. We were hoping to get to move forward with that this year on Broadway. Right now, as you know, everything is on hold, so that's what we're hoping we'll get there. Who knows? There's lots of unanswered questions. But I was so Becoming Nancy, and with Wicked, I was doing that 8 times a week on Broadway. It was awesome. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Wicked, but it was a tremendous, tremendous experience. It was so cool. I grew up loving that show, so it was awesome to be able to get to perform that role in its original run, not original company, obviously. I'm not Norbert Leo Betts. But yeah, great show. Can't wait for it to come back. Fingers crossed. My biggest advice for people going into the industry or pursuing it professionally, we could go down this rabbit hole for hours and days. Don't let anyone tell you that just because you're from a small town, you can't do it. You can. You totally can. You know that old adage where people say if there's anything else that you can do that you would be happy doing, that you should do it. And there is a lot of truth in that, because obviously there's so much uncertainty now in all levels of life, but that has always been true in performing and theater. You need to possess a tremendous tenacity to take beatings. You're going to get told a lot more no's than you're going to get told yeses. Not to be pessimistic, because you're also, hopefully you're gonna work and you're gonna be happy and you're gonna do all those things. But it is an incredibly tense job at times, for lack of a better word right now. But mostly you need to love doing it. You got to really love doing it, because it's going to be really hard at times. 2, you need to believe in yourself more than anyone else believes in you in the world. Let me repeat that. You need to believe in yourself more than anyone else believes in you in the world. That is not to say that you should shirk off your acting classes, your voice classes, You should always be thinking and working on your training to try to be a more honest and better and nuanced performer. That's always true. But you have to show people how awesome you are, because everyone's talented, right? So once you get to that level, every single person is talented. And what sets you apart is your own particular brand, your journey in life, what those aspects of your personality and your just aura, I suppose, is what makes you interesting from every other person. It really can be one of the only few things that can distinguish you from an entire cattle call of people. So the more that you own what you do, the more you make bold choices that are interesting, that are a reflection of you and your personality and how you would perform this when you're in the role. It's very important. You just have to be able to check your nervousness, all of that stuff. Where you're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm like that. You got to take that up and you got to ball it away and you got to throw it away, because a lot of times it's not even the most talented person per se who gets the role. A lot of times, I mean, there's so many factors that you can't control. The only thing that you have control over is what you present to those people behind that table in a room when you're auditioning, and they want to get to know who you are. They want to see your personality. They want to know what you want to do. So this whole rambling journey I've gone on is this whole roundabout way of saying that you have to own yourself and you have to trust yourself and go bold with it. That's what makes it super interesting. You want to obviously paint within the lines of what the story and the character is, but you got to put your own stamp on it, and that is the most important, is just owning your whole personality and being able to share that with people unapologetically. So when you go into an audition, you're working on a song, you're working on a monologue. Yes, there are parameters of the circumstances and the character that you have to work within, but there's so much wiggle room in that small area that you can make so many choices and do so many things. And the best way to bring yourself fully into your work and into a room when you audition, when your nerves are really high, is to know yourself very, very well. So I think a big part of an actor's job is to not only to be introspective in themselves, to understand, why do I think the way that I do? What do the actions that I take that just to get a better understanding of the human experience is basically what I'm trying to say. The more you know yourself, the more introspective you are on yourself, the more you watch others and try to understand other people, the more that is going to inform your own work. It's going to ground you and make you feel confident and comfortable in the decisions that you're making. And like I said before, that is incredibly important, because you reach a certain level and so many people are talented, but you have to find a way to set yourself apart. So the more you practice getting in touch with yourself and bringing that into whatever audition or something you're doing, I think the more, at least in my experience, I feel more comfortable. I leave the room feeling like I gave a better audition. I feel more proud about it, even if I didn't get it. And so that work that you do on yourself really, really pays off. So, that was a lot that we had, like a whole class basically in acting school when I did this other program called Circle in the Square, where you just stood up in front of a classroom and then everyone just told you exactly what they thought about you, or the vibe you give off. It was, honestly, it was brutal. It was brutal. There were a lot of tears in that class, but it was so instrumental. It was incredibly instrumental, because you walk around and sometimes you think that you're this one way, or you act this one way, and then people tell you that you actually come off in this entirely different way. But that's very important to know. I'm not saying that's wrong to come off in whatever way you're coming off, but you need to be aware of these things so that you can mold them and shape them into what you want them to be, what you want other people to see, what you want other people to know. And I'm not talking about in real life, that's a whole other area. I'm talking about on stage when you perform, so that you are in control of your story, when you are in control of yourself and your mind. And the more that you're going to have all these tools in your toolbox to be an effective storyteller. If you don't work in this industry professionally, you might not be familiar with what kind of a rat race it can be. You know, it's a constant having to stay always working, to get into the right rooms, to stay relevant, to work. And there's a lot of times where all of that pressure can kind of dampen or just kind of hide a little bit of why you do this and why like you love to do it. At least only speaking for myself. So what inspires me is going to see a Broadway show. It always does, every time. Especially shows that I'm not going to audition for, or even if I am, it doesn't matter. Just watching an entire production with amazing and talented performers always inspires me. Even if I'm like, oh my goodness, I wish that that would have been a brilliant choice to make. I wish I had thought of that. It's just awesome. It really does. It always fills me with this kind of spirit of why I like to do this. And, you know, I also feel that way about seeing really any kind of theater, especially community theater. I still love going and watching community theater when I'm home or in town if they're available, because what separates community theater and professional theater, or like Broadway, I should say, tours, whatever, is there is this aspect of community theater that feels so very pure and sweet, I guess, because all of these people have a love for performing and a love for the arts and a love for theater. They also have jobs. They have children. They have other obligations in their life that they have to take care of. They're not getting paid to do this community theater. But they all come together maybe 3-4 times a week for 3 hours every night after their long days to rehearse the show. They spend a week or so putting it up and doing it because they really love it. And when I watch a community theater show, you really get that aspect of the joy that these people have while they're doing this and telling these stories. And for me, that is the most that's the reason we do it, right? That's the most important. And so to swoop back to my previous part of this question, that's what Broadway also does for me. So in like different ways, I love to see just people work and tell stories, and it's like that never changes inside of me of being a little kid when I first discovered theater. Whenever I go watch an amazing production, community or Broadway, I still get that feeling of, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I love doing this. I want to continue to do this. So that's what inspires me in this industry. Hopefully that made sense to everybody. I cannot at the moment think of anything else I would like to partake other than I hope you all stay safe. Thank you for tuning in to watch this very clipped type of masterclass. And if there's any questions, feel free to read, like specific questions that I have missed, you can feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram. It's Jake Boyd, but it's spelled a very different, weird way that is actually related to no way that I spell my name in real life. But it's JaykeBoid on Instagram. So you can shoot me any messages of anything that I've missed, and I would be happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. So guys, thank you very much. Stay safe. Let's keep praying that we're going to get this under control, and we'll be back performing and watching theater in no time. Bye.